Hi everybody, this is Marr here, and I hope you're doing well today. Let me start off by saying something I know a lot of people would disagree with me on. I feel sorry for Mattel. I'm not even kidding around when I say that I genuinely feel sorry for them. I know a lot of people easily write Mattel off as nothing but heartless, money-loving ghouls who are just squeezing every ounce of life from Thomas, but I think that's a bit harsh to say. I believe there are some employees in the company who do care about the legacy of Thomas and wants to keep the franchise around for many years to come. In terms of trying to accomplish this task, however, they don't know how. If you look at the Thomas brand over the last 5 years, you'll notice on how much has changed, from the television series going in a completely different direction, changes in the quality of merchandise, how little advertising we've seen being advertised. Most would agree a lot of these changes hurt the franchise image as a whole. Again, I do think Mattel does care for Thomas, they just don't know what to do with it to keep it relevant and profitable in today's market. And I think evidence of this shines more with the upcoming release of the Thomas & Friends reboot, or as some people have been calling it, Thomas & Friends All Engines Go. This feels like Mattel's final chance to keep the Thomas brand going, and judging by the reaction of people, it's not gonna end pretty. I don't need to tell you about the response because it's all over the place. No matter who you follow on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, or even asking people's reactions out on the streets, everyone seems to have the same opinion. It's bad and it's going to fail. I myself don't think it's gonna be that good either. Heck, I'm doubtful that the show's gonna last that long. That being said, I don't hate the reboot as much as others do. It's not gonna change my mindset on how I feel about Thomas or the Island of Sodor. I still love the series as I did back then, so this show isn't gonna affect my opinions on it. In fact, I think it's kinda cool to see Thomas being told in a different perspective. If you look at other long-lasting characters in fictional worlds, there's been many different interpretations of them, and I just view the show not as a replacement of Thomas, but just a different version, and I can easily ignore it as well if I don't like it. But since we're focusing on the reboot, there's a lot of different thoughts I have with it. A few positive, but ultimately I don't see myself watching it at all, and I have some major concerns with the show that, I'm concerned with. One positive I do have with the show is the small cast. Now before anyone throw their wine bottles at the computer screen, let me explain. As of now, we don't know who all will appear in the reboot. Sure, we got a main cast already set up with Thomas, Percy, Nia, Diesel, and the new electric Diesel named Connor. We also got Gordon, Emily, Carly, and Sir Topham Hatt expected to appear. But that still leaves a bunch of characters missing, like where's James? Oh wait, there he is, false alarm. But that still leaves out a lot of engines like Henry, Edward, Toby, along with many other engines who are MIA. And sadly, we may never see a lot of these engines appear in All Engines Go. However, one of the major issues I had with Big World Big Adventures, and to an extent seasons 20 and 21, was that there were too many characters to keep track of. From returning cast members, newcomers to the series, one-off characters, international engines, it was overwhelming to remember who's who. And this is coming from someone who's been following the series since I was born in '94. Imagine if every single engine, road vehicle, and person throughout the franchise's history all appeared in the first season of All Engines Go. Would it be nice? Yeah. Overwhelming? Yes! The second positive I have with the series is that it's not a continuation of the original show. We don't have to consider this canon at all. Granted, I'm not sure what details will be kept from the books and television series that will be carried over to All Engines Go, but considering even the Island of Sodor is being transformed to have deserts and jungles in it, I say it's gonna have its own lore and continuity, which, to be fair, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, if it's gonna have its own continuity, we don't have to consider putting it in the canon with the Railway series or the television show. It's its own thing, and I'm fine with that. And finally, I actually like the animation. Yes, pretend this isn't Thomas and Friends. Pretend this is his own original show for 1 minute. You'll find that the style that it's going for is quite charming. The colors and the background are pleasing. It feels like a pop-up book that's leaping out of its pages. And the engine's body language is honestly just as I was thinking when I heard the term 2D Thomas show. I thought back to the old style traditional animation of Disney when it had locomotives and seeing the engines bouncing and having personality with them, and that's what I got out of this trailer, and it actually looks fun. Don't get me wrong, there are some gripes I have with it, like when the engine's wheels leaps high off the ground and we see these small gray lines that's connecting to them. It looks a bit odd, and I think it would have been better if the wheels was extending like a bouncing orange or something. I think that would have worked better. There's also some character designs that I wish could have been tweaked a little bit more. For example, Nia's face here looks like she wants to steal my lunch money. Diesel's forehead takes up way too much space to the point that there's already land for sale. And then I have one major complaint here. This tiny Diesel. Sweet sugary snapples, does she look adorable. I just want to pick her up like a fluffy puff marshmallow and cuddle with her. She's so adorable, I can't wait to see her. So with all that said, unfortunately the negative thoughts I have towards it outweighs more than the positive. My biggest issue with Thomas and Friends All Engines Go is that it's not Thomas and Friends. Let me say this, I have no ill will toward Mattel or Nirvana Enterprises making this series. They can do whatever they want, and I'm sure they're having a blast making it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with taking an existing franchise and doing something different with it. Plenty of examples doing this practice are out there, and sometimes it works amazingly well, and other times it flops hard. But my beef with the show is that it goes out of its way being different, to the point where if you're just glancing at it, you wouldn't even connect that the show is Thomas and Friends. It changes too much from the original source material. The atmosphere, tone, style that the show is going for, while it works well with others, just doesn't fit with Thomas's DNA whatsoever. It changes so much from it that it's just unrecognizable, and unfortunately doesn't really make it stand out. It kind of blends itself in with so many other shows that unfortunately people will just skip it over thinking is a knockoff or something. And with all these changes that the show is going for, makes me wonder, if they're gonna change so much from the original source material, why not just end Thomas and make a new IP altogether? Sure, it will suck seeing them put Thomas on static display in favor of some new kid on the block, but at least the identity of Thomas wouldn't be jeopardized to accommodate these changes. There's also a few fears I have with the show. As of the time of making this video, we don't know everything about the show, but by discerning what we've seen and comparing it to the past, I have my concerns. Everyone has their own different reasons why they love Thomas, and for me, what made Thomas so special, whether it being from the original books or the television show, was that it was so calming and relaxing. I didn't watch the show to find dark theories about a certain engine or accidents happening now and again. Well, okay, some of them was pretty cool. I watched it because I loved the characters, I loved the setting of Sodor, I loved watching the engines puffing down the track to some of the most breathtaking visuals ever filmed on camera. It was a show that felt like it welcomed everybody, regardless of age, regardless of your thoughts on trains in general. It just has that welcoming feeling that's like, hey, come on down to Sodor and have a wonderful time with all these engines. You felt like that everyone knew everybody as a small community. Stories were simple slice of life tales, and it was a show that stood out from everything else at the time because of it being so relaxing and so slow paced. Well, okay, Fiddle Tugboat had that as well, but Thomas came first. Big World Big Adventures unfortunately took away that charm and tried to be more entertaining for the sake of entertainment. Being more comical, having more stuff happening on the screen like waving a set of keys at a child, and there was never ending noise. It never took a moment for me to breathe. And I still have this issue with this to this day. It's like, I try watching multiple Big World of Big Adventure episodes back to back, and I just cannot do it. I have to just watch one episode, stop, wait 5 minutes, and then proceed with the next episode. And it's even more upsetting that if you asked me what happened in a certain story from this era, I couldn't tell you what stood out. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some good stories in BWBA, but there were more stories that I forgot about more than episodes I remember. And I feel like that's what's gonna happen here. The show will have constant noise, sound, never giving the audience to breathe for like a millisecond, and then you'll forget what you just watched in 30 minutes time. To give credit where credit's due, All Engines Go doesn't look as hectic compared to the CGI series. It may be because since 2D animation is a bit easier on the eyes, to me at least, then it might benefit from it. But again, I'm not holding out anything. And then the other thing I'm concerned about is the personalities that the engines will have. Remember how I couldn't remember many stories from BWBA? That can also be said to any new engine introduced during that time frame. Okay, that's a bit judgmental there. There were a few characters that stood out from the bunch, but for the majority of newcomers introduced, I couldn't tell you who's who or which ones stood out because they all had the exact same personality, being nice and friendly, which there's nothing wrong with that per se, but when you had over 30 different characters who had the exact same persona, it becomes boring. To make my point even more better, you're back to any characters introduced in the Railway series or even through seasons 5 and 7 of the television series and compare the personalities there. I mean, we had our fair share of engines who were nice, helpful, friendly, but we also had characters who were prideful, snooty, cranky, spiteful, took no bullcrap from anyone, engines who didn't want to do their jobs, even characters who wanted to see a certain class of engines being genocide. And I feel like with this show, we won't see any diverse casting like we've had before. In fact, let's take a quick look at the Thomas & Friends All Engines Go wiki here. Yes, there is a Wikipedia page dedicated to the reboot, and read up on the 5 main engines' personas. Thomas and Percy's, they're about the same as they were in the past, so they'll be okay for the most part. What about Diesel? Where he was oily, devious, and full of ideals of getting revenge, Diesel is portrayed as one of Thomas's best buds. He's always trying to one-up Thomas and inadvertently causes trouble for everyone in his quest to be the real #1 engine! I don't know why it says tank engine there. In fact, it actually says that on the press release. Like, what? What about Nia per se? Well, it looks to be about the same as she was in BWBA, and that's still an issue with me. She's nice, friendly, clever, but has no flaws that make her interesting. Let me be clear, I don't dislike Nia at all. I admire her quick thinking, and I really like her voice. The problem is that she doesn't have any flaws on anything that we can relate to. When compared to the other 6 main engines and their personas and story possibilities, it leaves Nia falling shortly behind. Sure, we did have a story with Nia involving her having a hard time reading the numbers at Knapford, and I liked that story, it worked out great. However, it was the only time we saw Nia having conflict. We do have one new engine into the group, Kana, a high-speed electric diesel from Japan. Sadly, the Wikipedia nor any of the press releases says much about her character traits, though some have speculated that she'll be confident and determined, which that's not really a whole lot to go from. I mean, if they switched Diesel's persona around, why not experiment with Nia and make her interesting? Imagine if Nia was like, say, Emily in season 8, where she is a bit bossy. I mean, she's a good worker, has years of experience, and loves working with the other engines, but she may has a tendency to tell the others what to do and plan things out without consulting with the other engines, which can get the others to be annoyed working with her. Or how about Kana? she's a fast engine and everyone will be blown away by her speed, literally, but she doesn't know how to control her speed yet. Maybe when others say she's dangerous or reckless, she feels attacked by that, and she tries not to use her talents as much because she's afraid of hurting other people or what they might think of her. She could be sensitive, and people's comments can make her feel upset, and so she has this gift of speed but doesn't know how to use it and is afraid to use it because she doesn't want to hurt anybody. So now with these two characters having their strengths and weaknesses, it makes them interesting. They have conflict going on. People can relate to them in some way, or heck, even compare them to people they know in real life. We have something that can make the characters grow and become stronger. And you can't do that if everyone is the exact same happy-go-lucky character. And unfortunately, it looks like Gordon and Emily aren't gonna be themselves ever, as by the sound of things, they're gonna be more like father and motherly figures towards the engines. Oh, and as for the top of the hat, comic relief. That's it. You know, it's funny too how back in the ye-olde golden age of Thomas and Friends, when people compared to the Fat Controller to the characteristics of God, someone who had authority over the engines, rewards them for their hard work, but disciplines them when they do something wrong. He went from this amazing authority figure that was well respected to now just being for slapstick. That's a pretty big downgrade if you ask me. Looking at this show more and more, I feel so much mixed emotions about it. I want Thomas to stick around for more generations to experience it, just not in this form. And I feel like all the magic that made Thomas so special has been wiped away with all these changes. Saying this hurts because I want Mattel to succeed at the end. It's no secret that they've been struggling in sales for a very long time, and this Thomas reboot is truly their final chance to continue in the market. And if I have to give credit to Mattel on one thing, they aren't afraid of trying out new things with Thomas. I would say a lot of stuff they done worked out to their advantage, but at least they're not afraid of doing something instead of doing nothing at all. At the end of the day though, I don't really see myself watching this show. I'll give it a watch when it releases this upcoming October, and if it's alright, that's cool. But if it's a blunder, I'll simply not watch it. It's that simple. I don't hate this show, and frankly, again, I think it's sort of interesting to see Thomas being told in a different perspective. It's just no longer Thomas, and I really wish this would have been just an original series that Mattel has done. I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with having two talking train shows. In fact, that actually would be kind of cool, but oh well, it is what it is. So in the comment section below, leave your thoughts and feelings about this show, what you like and dislike about it, but please be decent with your comments. I've seen way too many mean-spirited threats made to Mattel over this change. One comment in particular I saw, which I can't find anymore on Twitter, was someone hoping Mattel would get raped because they took Thomas in this direction. And I'm sorry, anyone who knows me personally knows how much I can't stand people making such threats over people for a show or a movie. Like, I get it, you don't like it, but don't do that. That's just not ethical at all. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this, God bless yous, and have a super mega chocolate fun awesome day. Bye bye!